This is LP Giobbi.
Listen up, children.
You are listening to Femme House Radio.
I said listen up, children.
On Diplo's Revolution, Sirius XM.
A wonderful night is made as much by the dancers as the music. Guided as much by the spirit of joy in the room as by the hand which reaches for the next record. Each of us has a role in tonight's experience. We all play in the band.
This is LP Giobbi, and I founded Femme House, a 501c3 foundation and educational platform that teaches the technical areas of music making for women, non-binary, trans, and other marginalized gender identities. Every week, I will be interviewing and spotlighting women in music while bringing you the best dance tunes from around the world. Our next guest on Femme House Radio is DJ producer Carlys Wilford. She started out by taking over the airwaves on the Rinse FM breakfast show before joining Tool Room Records' Tool Room Academy course to learn how to make music. And in just 10 months, she was signed to the label herself. Her first release has seen support from Annie Mac, Danny Howard, and Jaguar. She is also the creator of the radio platform and collective Sister, which I love, where she continues to support musicians at early stages of their careers and has proven to be an ahead-of-the-curve tastemaker. Carly, thank you for being here with us.
Oh, you are so sweet. And that is the nicest intro. Isn't it funny when you have to listen to things about yourself? But yeah, that happened. All that happened. And
so impressed with you. So I know that, like me, you were incredibly inspired by learning that only 2% of music producers were women, and that you actually used that statistic to fuel your passion to learn. Talk to me about your journey from learning that to where you are now.
So it was such a crazy thing because I remember having the opportunity to do the course, and I was really busy at the time and I didn't really know how it was going to fit into my schedule. But around the same time, I heard that statistic, and running a collective called Sister and championing producers from every walk of life, I was like, okay, if that stat's there, I need to step up. You know, there's no point sitting back and thinking, why is it only this? No, step up, step forward. And that's what I did. And so for 3 months, 4 months, I was on the course, and it was, you know, really hard work, like not knowing anything about Ableton and being on a course with some producers who did. I had to really grind and work hard, but the rewards were so there. And I remember there was points in the course thinking, I don't know how I'm ever going to know this, but I just pushed through it. I worked hard. I spent more time learning than ever before. And yeah, so Generation X came out mid-January. It's obviously done way better than I ever really imagined that it would. I've then got another release that comes out on the 16th of April, called Together for the Love, with a producer from San Diego called My. And then, yeah, I'm just busy working on other tracks, but I've just fallen in love with it, probably like you. And, you know, it's that thing where being able to create music that you love, or being in the studio. I did my first studio session outside of lockdown the other day, and you know, that for me was something that really blew my mind, like playing a beat that I'd played and working with a vocalist. And yeah, it just got me really excited, and I kind of came back into the studio really fueled with that feeling of creativity in it. And you know, a lot of my music I haven't been able to play out, and I haven't played any gigs, so I've never played my own tracks out, you know.
And wow, so right.
Yeah, so coming out of lockdown, I just can't wait to be able to see people dance on the dance floor to it. It's going to be so special.
Ooh, the world is ready for you. I can feel it. Do you do any Twitch streaming?
I've done bits. Like I did a track with Mr. B, and I did a stream for him, but I haven't been doing loads of that, only because I obviously learned to produce about a year ago. So I've been going, right, what is my focus? Before this, I was doing loads of DJ sets, but now I really need to make beats. So I've been burying my head in Ableton above and beyond doing that. If I had loads more time and focus, then I'd definitely be doing more Twitch streaming. But I've just been trying to make beats, babe.
I love that. Oh, that's so cool. Tell me about that. How is that? Like, are you literally opening up Ableton every day? Like, what does your schedule look like right now?
Well, as much as I can. You know what it's like? Some days you can open Ableton and things fly and you get a groove going and you're like, right, I've got this. And then there's other days where you feel like you're listening to the same 8-bar loop on repeat and you're not getting anywhere. So it kind of depends. I mean, I probably make music every other day. I obviously work on loads of other projects, so it just depends when I have the time. But I'm
Yeah.
loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. And there's always something to learn, right?
Every single time I open Ableton, I learn something new, truly, or have to Google, wait, how would I want to do this? Okay, so going back to the point you just made, you write, you host, you interview, you have your own artist collective, you DJ, you make music. Truly, what do you not do, and how do you how do you do all of that at once?
You know what? Over the last few years, what I have had to do is try and refine a lot of that. And so I'm trying to now keep production at the forefront, as that's the main thing that I do, and then use everything else as almost like an add-on to that. I think over the years, I kind of started out as a presenter, which led me into writing. And I started out as a blogger. So a lot of the time, if I couldn't interview the artists that I wanted to on film, I'd write about them. So that led me into that area. But I just love
Ah,
learning. And I think the thing is with the music industry is you can take your career on so many different paths. So you
yeah.
imagine I've been doing this for like 10 years since I started, and you as a person change, don't you, along that way? And I think my career's just changed with the way that I've changed, you know?
Oh, that's so cool. I mean, I heard about you from multiple people, like from different, from the Ableton artist relations person and from Skrillex. Just kidding, I don't know Skrillex. But I heard about you from many multiple people, so it makes you really feel like you have a very wide net, and all of the things that you do feed the same beast, which is very impressive.
Yeah, but it's also about one of the things that I've always thought about the music industry is about helping each other. And I think early on, I kind of spent loads of time going around the unsigned music circuit. So I was discovering new artists. And then, as and when they got their breaks and they evolved, my career evolved with theirs. And it was never intentional like that. But we all kind of, it's like an ecosystem, isn't it? You all work alongside each other. And I think as long as you're helping one another, like one of the reasons that Skrillex and I started working together was I used to send him music and, send him the artists in the UK that I thought he needed to keep an eye out for. And those artists, for example, one of those artists was Georgia Smith. And early on,
Wow.
he then shared blue lights on his Twitter. I texted to him. I was in a cab with one of her agents who sent me blue lights. I texted to him. He tweeted it, and then that track blew up. So, it's all about that, helping one
Oh
another,
my,
finding
what? And
artists.
so, how did you meet Skrillex?
So I met Skrillex at Glastonbury back in the day. Yeah, and just, I don't know, started sending him music and being in touch with
Like
his
you just
team.
ran
And
into him?
yeah, I actually did. And it was really funny because at the time, again, I was interviewing loads of acts. And I think at the time he was there with Scream and Disclosure and Artwork. And he was playing shows there. And yeah, we just met. And because obviously dubstep started in a small part of London called Croydon, he was such a fan of Croydon, basically. And so I was hanging out with all the people that were from there and some of the people who helped to create dubstep. And that's we were all hanging out together and yeah, just got to know him through that. And he was a huge fan of Femme, which is where I started one of my first radio shows. And yeah, so we just connected through that. But he's just such a master, isn't he, at what he does? And I
I
just have
have the
so much
crazy.
respect for him.
Oh, totally. You know what I think about all the time? It's like sometimes as I'm making music and talking to labels and, just releasing it and going through that process, I always think, like, I don't know if you've started experiencing this, but I hear a lot like, well, if you release this kind of track, with this sort of top line, like, then you're going to get cut out of like the underground scene. And like, if you want to, it's like you have to sort of put yourself in a box pretty early on in order to like, have the tastemakers appreciate you or like decide if you want to kind of be more American focused, or you can, you sort of have to think bigger picture about the moves maybe. And I always think of Skrillex. I feel like that guy can do anything he wants. Like, I think that he could release whatever kind of music he wanted. I think he could, and I feel like it's because he's just a really nice human. And maybe that's like very, I don't know, short-sighted or ignorant of me to think, but, or like, I don't know, but I feel like he's one of the artists that is so respected. It really doesn't matter what kind of music he releases. It's going to be listened to by everybody. And I just am in awe of him for that. I think about him all the time because of that.
I think he tore up the rule book. I think he kind of did it on his terms. From the UK side, I don't think he always had the easiest time. But from the
Oh,
US side,
really?
when you go to,
That's
yeah, I
interesting.
think so. I think, you know, dubstep was created here, and there's a lot of people that are really authentic to keeping dubstep on the underground in the UK. And there was that side of it that I think people were always like, you've kind of taken a UK thing and taken it globally, but that didn't come from the people that created it, because they all have so much respect for him. And I think at the end of the day, what he's done, he's been so successful in so many lanes. Like, look at the stuff that he does for Bieber, or has done for Bieber in the past,
right.
and all of the pop music he's done, and stuff with The Weeknd. And he has this unique way of taking a track and taking it up another level. And yeah, he's absolutely amazing, and literally still one of my favorite producers.
I have a wild story about him. He played Snow Globe Music Festival, which is my partner's festival, and we were so obviously there. He was a headliner, and then there was an after party that night. It was on New Year's Eve proper, and a bunch of acts were playing it, and he ended up showing up to the after party and waiting for everybody to like have their time. Like, he could have, just like hopped in, like took in somebody's slot essentially. And he waited for everybody to like have their moment to shine and have their, allotted slot played. And then at 4 a.m, he went and put down his credit card. He said, listen, I know that the bartenders are going to have to stay longer. And so, I'll make sure that you guys get payment for that. I'm putting down my credit card for anybody who's here, who's left standing. I'll buy a round of drinks, and I would love to just like play. And he asked the club to turn off all the lights. To like, there's like a crazy, like a lot of like simulation light shows. Like, let's just cut all the lights. And he played for 3 hours, and there were literally 15 people there. And it was one of the most remarkable sets I have ever seen.
He's a really, really incredible DJ. And yeah, he's just honed his craft though. He's traveled the world touring consistently. And, I've seen him play some really amazing shows. And, one of those shows that I saw him play was in Serbia at Exit Festival. And it was wild, like amazing.
Wow, that must have been great. The thing, I don't know how it was. I mean, this maybe was a different scenario because it was just like crazy last minute. But he was going from R&B into dubstep into house into. I mean, he was just blending absolutely. I literally heard him play every genre.
Yeah, amazing. So good,
so
and the nicest
cool.
person. Yeah. And has done so much.
And he just
for
he cared about everybody who was left, and he cared about everybody who was working, at the venue. And it was just so inspiring for me to see, like, he just cares about music still. He just wanted to DJ, it didn't matter the stage or how many people were there. He just still cared about his what he did, he just loved music. Yeah. And I just feel like being in the music industry that can, that can get tainted. And I was just really impressed with that.
He really does this thing as well with uncovering new artists. Like, he loves to find new musicians and gets that real source of the magic of the music industry, which I think is just amazing. And he doesn't need to back new artists. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't need to, but
totally.
He does. That's what he did with so much with Owsler for ages, like really uncovering artists that he believed in and spending so much time, money and resources just backing them, putting them on lineups, putting them on tours. It's brilliant.
So cool. I loved that you just articulated a lot of like feelings I had about him. So that's really cool to hear you talk about him. And then I read that you interviewed Tom Cruise backstage at a festival. What did you ask him? If that's true, what did you ask him?
Oh, well, actually, it wasn't backstage at a festival. What it was on the red carpet for a premiere of one of his movies back in the day. It was amazing. I can't remember what movie it was, but he was awesome. He had sunglasses on though, which was a bit weird. So I always find it strange when you're interviewing someone and you can't look in their eyes. And also I just remember him being like not massively tall, but he had this real presence. And
that's true.
When you're doing stuff on the red carpet, it's a real bum fight. Like, you have to really get your mic in and ask loads of questions. And yeah, he was just really nice. I don't know about you, but the more successful people that I meet, the nicer they seem to be. They're just humble.
Really?
They have no point to prove. Yeah. I don't know about you.
The point to prove is a really, I find that insecurity is a real thing. And also having to, I think it's like it's a battle to find inward validation, when maybe you're not getting that from the world, which is an important thing to find, obviously. But I guess now that you say that would make, I guess that makes sense that the more the less you have to prove, the more at peace you are with yourself, perhaps. So I'm happy to hear that. I haven't really interviewed anybody at that level. So although you might be one day. So maybe this is my first foray into that. As a radio host, what is the favorite interview that you've ever done? That you've ever given?
Such a good question. You know who I've interviewed, and it wasn't on radio, but it was as a journalist, was Nina Kravitz. And she was amazing.
Everything. Really?
She was just amazing. Like, I remember I was at ADE and I got the opportunity to chat to her. And I remember sitting on this kind of like sofa in this press room, and we just sat and spoke for an hour. And she's so smart. Her mind is amazing. And this is one thing that I love about the music industry and all of the people that I've been lucky enough to meet is someone like her, they've worked really hard to get where they are. And I just kind of started falling in love with people's minds. And she was just awesome to chat to. And, when I interviewed her, it was like we went into this little cocoon and she just told me so much and shared so much about her life. And she was really fascinating, I think. And yeah, definitely one of my favorite people that I've interviewed.
That's also remarkable to just sit with somebody without, it sounds like, I'm guessing there were like no cell phone distractions or no, screens or no, and just have a conversation for an hour. I'm trying to think, like, when was the last time I did that with a good friend of mine, That's really cool to just like be present with another human, one that maybe you don't even know, and get to know them that way. That's so special. That makes me pumped up to hear that because obviously I look up to her greatly.
Yeah, she was really great. And I remember walking away from that. And another one like that I had was Nile Rodgers. So I remember sitting with him, and I was only given like a 10-minute slot. When you're early on in press, they can sometimes be like, look, you've got 10 minutes. But I remember being there for like half an hour, 45 minutes. He sat, looked deep into my eyes and basically told me, just kept chatting and chatting and chatting, just him and I in like a little press room on the side. And again, just really down to earth, honest, a beautiful, beautiful soul, and so talented. But this is what I mean. I think, especially when you're writing, you're given quite a lot of time with somebody where they're not distracted. Like you say, they haven't got a phone. You're not at a festival, so there's not lots of crazy stuff going on around them. It's just you and them. And they want to tell their story to you just as much as you want to hear it. And so I think within that space, he was just amazing and someone that I just have always respected. What a legend, right?
That is so cool. I love what you said. They want to tell the stories as much as you want to hear them. I didn't know if that would be true. I'm like, I would think like, are they sick of telling this? Do they just want to like go home and be alone and have some meet? But I guess maybe if you're putting your life out there as an artist in whatever form, I guess there would be an excitement to tell those stories. That's so cool to hear that.
But also, I think it depends what questions you ask. And I think, if I was like a sleazy journo that's just sat there trying to get some quick headline out about, their relationship or put them on the front page of the paper about something I don't want to talk about. But I was never that. So I was always sitting and asking them
you're
about
probably
their art
so
or their...
good about... Oh, I can only imagine how good you would be at that. Totally.
I just want to big up the artists. I don't want to try and get a quick story out of them. So I think that's the difference,
so
isn't it?
Cool.
So
your next release, Together for the Love, that sax is amazing. It gets me going. How did that track come to be?
So my and I did a tool room course together, and she made some really amazing music on there. And I remember afterwards we got talking on Instagram and was like, look, we should just start collaborating. But again, a bit like you and I, she was on the other side of the world and none of us can really travel at the moment. So we just started Sunday nights, jumping on Zoom, bouncing back ideas, sending over different, samples or audio sounds that we wanted to work on. And yeah, we did it over the course of like a few weeks. And my would spend loads of time like tweaking bits, and I'd come in and be like, what about this? What about that? And it was just the most fun. And again, we just started this friendship and we've started working on other music. And I remember we kind of started to send it out. We sent it to one label and then another label. And then Alex Preston was someone that I've just massively respected. His tracks have such groove and character and they're really uplifting. And so I knew about Basement Sound Label and thought, you know what, this would be a really good home for this. And so, yeah, we sent it over to him. He's based in Australia, so we were like time zone hopping left, right, and center.
Yeah.
But he's had some really good releases on his label recently. There's one that's out this week by a guy called Jimmy Harvey, who's really awesome. And so, yeah, that comes out on the 16th of April. Really, really excited. It's a feel-good jam. Like Generation X was a bit more heavy, but this is like arms in the air, sunset
it is
vibes with your mate.
extremely uplifting. Yes, I absolutely love it. I love it, love it, love it. And tell us about Sister, that collective. It means so much to me, and I'd love to hear in your words what it means to you.
So Sister started out as when I first started DJing. I was really conscious that a lot of the lineups were really male heavy, and this was a long time ago. Like this is like 6-7 years ago. And at the time I was starting out as a DJ and I was struggling to get bookings. And so I decided to put on my own nights with a guy called Shan, who I used to work really closely with. And so we were coming up with ideas for nights, and we basically wanted to book acts that we wanted to be on lineups with, you know? And so
Yes.
we did that. And then I remember thinking, like, why don't we just book an equal lineup? So guys, girls, people from every walk of life, as opposed to what we were seeing in the dance music industry. And I have two sisters who are awesome. They're like my best pals. And I just came up with it one day. I was like, can we just call it Sister? And then I found this like Native American symbol for sister, and it was two people standing side by side. And, you know, that for me just said it all. It was like, it doesn't matter what your gender is. We can do this together. Like, let's just stand side by side. And Sister was born from that. So it was an event, and then that turned into a radio show. And then I just spent loads of time trying to give people a platform. So uncovering new artists, presenters, whoever it was, and then shouting about them, playing their music when other people won, and, you know, giving them an opportunity. And like you, that's now kind of gone into workshops and, you know, nights and mix series and, you know, all of that good stuff.
Sister is a huge inspiration for Femme House. So thank you for starting that and being a leader in that. And I also want to shout you out in particular for being such a go-getter. I mean, you taught yourself how to produce. You decided, you know what, I don't see the lineups I want, so I'm just going to book them myself. Like you are out there getting it. I am very impressed with you.
I mean, I think sometimes it's called survival, but, you know, or being impatient.
You got to do it. Okay, I have one more question for you. What advice would you give your younger self? It's a bit more of a meta one, but I know that you are a spiritual person, so I would love to hear that answer from you. What advice would you give your younger self?
The advice that I would give my younger self would be, do not be so hard on yourself. And I think that's definitely something, you know, for example, when I was presenting, you get 100 positive comments, you get one negative comment. We all do it. But I think just give yourself a bit of a break. You know, you're always just doing your best. And I think that's something that, you know, like you've just said, so many of us do. And, you know, just chill with it a bit more. Be gentle with yourself. Give yourself space to breathe, instead of just being on your own back the whole time. Like, you wouldn't do that to another human, so don't do it to yourself.
I had my therapist tell me, you need to talk to your inner child a lot nicer. If you were your own mother, you would never talk to yourself that way. A mother, you would never let a mother talk to a child that way, and that is what you need to do. So I think that is really, really great advice. I really appreciate that. We can all be gentler, nicer, and kinder to ourselves. Thank you.
No, of course.
And thank you for being our guest on Femme House Radio. I am such a big fan. You are truly a huge inspiration. You have so many plates spinning. You do so much, and you do it all so well. You are a massive rising star. So thank you for taking your time and being here with us today.
No, thank you. And you know what? I'm so excited to watch where you head over the next few months, the next few years. And I can't wait to come to one of your gigs. I can't wait to watch your success.
Girl, if you're there, we're B2Bing. I cannot wait to throw down with you.
Oh my goodness. So much vocal house. It is going to be ridiculous. So much feel-good vibes. So many pianos.
So much uplifting joy. Well, thank you. Thank you. This is LP Giobbi.
Listen up, children.
You are listening to Femme House Radio.
I said listen up, children.
On Diplo's Revolution, Sirius XM.
A wonderful night is made as much by the dancers as the music. Guided as much by the spirit of joy in the room as by the hand which reaches for the next record.
educational platform that teaches the technical areas of music making for women, non-binary, trans, and other marginalized gender identities. Every week, I will be interviewing and spotlighting women in music while bringing you the best dance tunes from around the world.